February 17th, 2009.
It's going to work. It'll be fine. Just get your converter box and be ready so that when February comes, that you're all prepared for it.
Analog television goes away.
Well, I think some people don't realize that they can use their old analog TVs. They just have to have this converter box to do it.
Forever.
The antenna that you probably have on your house right now is going to be fine.
We got our new digital television, and it still works great right off of our old antenna.
Iowans are asking questions, getting answers, and taking action.
A lot of people who have cable come in asking for converter boxes. They don't realize they don't need them yet.
I'd sooner work on my antenna. I want to get it up to par before winter starts.
Well, there's a lot of things to think about when shopping for a TV. It's most important to really see the set side by side and get an accurate view of what television picture is better.
I would say that my selection of TV to watch will probably increase by 200%. You know, it's going to be a good deal.
I remember watching a show when I first got it, a show that I had watched all last year, and the same actress was on this year, and I was watching it in high def, and I remember looking at her and thinking, I don't remember seeing all those freckles on her face.
It's still free, you know.
The biggest difference we find is that there's a misconception between the terminology of digital and high definition. Some people think they mean the same thing. We encourage people to make the switch as soon as they're ready to.
Just the pleasure of it was when we plugged it in, it was a whole lot better than I thought it was going to be. I love it. I love it.
February 17th, 2009, the day analog television broadcasting goes away and digital television takes over. You've seen the spots on this station, and you've read about it online and in magazines and in newspapers. And though it all focuses on that day in February, nearly all your stations are already broadcasting in digital as well as analog. That's what all this fancy equipment is about. It's part of how your Iowa broadcasters continue to bring you the best service. But it's not really about fancy equipment at all. It's about Iowans adapting to change and doing what they need to do. Your Iowa broadcasters have already made the transition, and that means you can make the transition in your home right now. Many are on their way or already prepared. Hundreds of thousands of you have ordered your converter box coupons, bought the box, purchased digital televisions, and made sure those antennas work. In Iowa, it's all about neighbor helping neighbor. So if you've got questions, they've got answers. And by sharing their concerns and their experiences, you'll learn what you need to know. People like Alan Birdie, who farms up near Algona.
My neighbors, they haven't really been focused on it too much. But I know when the thing happens, then everybody's going to get real focused on it. But it's kind of good to know what you can do. I'm going to get the boxes for my TVs.
So Alan ordered his coupons.
It was pretty simple. Just got on the cell phone and took about 3 or 4 minutes just entering a few numbers in, and it was real simple.
As Alan said, it's pretty simple. If you have an analog TV and get your TV signal using an antenna, you need to get a converter box for that TV. In fact, you need a converter box for each analog TV if you have more than one, as many of us do. But let's back up a bit. Why is this happening? Well, in this case, it really did take an act of Congress, the Federal Deficit Reduction Act of 2005. The new digital technology will free up a good chunk of the broadcast spectrum, some of which the government will use for public safety, and the rest will be sold to private companies to be used for new wireless internet services and other things. The billions of dollars raised will be used to help reduce the federal deficit. Iowans' reactions vary.
My personal thoughts on it are it's long overdue. We need to free up those broadcast bands or frequencies or whatever they are for other uses. And the digital signal being so much more efficient at using the airwaves seems to me like a really good thing. And of course the government coupon for a lot of people will help them easily make that transition to the new digital signals.
I'm a little bit irritated that the government is insisting, or not insisting, they're telling us that we have to change and have to go digital in February or have to get the converter boxes, because it is an expense. It may not be a big expense for a lot of people, but it is still an expense.
This demand hasn't been created as much by the government. It has by people who've been buying TVs like this, but disappointed because they haven't been able to see a picture like this. I sold a lot of TVs to people who went home, put them up, and then sat there and waited for a year or two so that before they could get this picture on their TV set. And when they got this picture, it was like getting a brand new TV all over again. So there's a lot of people that have been pushing for this to happen.
The U.S. government is mandating the change, but it's also helping you make that change by providing $40 coupons that you can use toward the purchase of the digital converter boxes. Each household is entitled to 2 coupons, and they're good for 90 days. More and more Iowans are ordering their coupons every day, and you can order yours by going online to www.dtv2009.gov or by calling 1-888-DTV-2009. Now, we'll be showing this contact information throughout the program. It is simple, but don't feel bad about asking a friend or a family member to help you out. You need the converter box only if you watch analog TV using an antenna. And once you hook up that box, which you should do right away, you'll discover some great benefits.
The digital converter box is a benefit to everyone, really. You're going to get more channels, you're going to get a sharper picture, and it's not hard to hook up. It's you know, plugging in a couple of wires and plugging it into the outlet. You can do this yourself. It's easy. But if you can't, there's help. We help. We will draw you a diagram, and you can just hook it up wire for wire, and it will work.
Alan Birdie called in his coupon order. My friend Dan Karcher ordered his coupons online.
Ordering the coupons online was easy and just took a few minutes. I actually have 5 TVs here at home, but just 2 of them receive the TV signal using rabbit ears. So I thought I just needed 2 converter boxes, one for a TV on the sun porch and another in our bedroom. The rest of our TVs are hooked up to cable, so I don't need to do anything about them. They'll continue to work just fine after the analog shutoff in February. It took a while for the coupons to arrive, and I was a bit concerned because I'd heard they're only valid for 90 days. But not to worry. The 90 days didn't start until just about the time they arrived in the mail. So I headed off to Jones Appliance and TV in Iowa Falls to pick up my boxes. There I met up with Jim Williams, who was very helpful. After I told Jim about my TV situation, he first wanted to know what kind of antenna I was using.
To be able to get a good digital signal, you need to have a good UHF signal. So what you might want to do is check to see if you do get those. The other thing is to check your antenna that you do have and see if there is what they call a bow tie antenna or a circular antenna. From where you live at in your area, usually both of those usually will work pretty good for that area. If you're farther away from the stations, then it may be that you might need to put an antenna on top of your house to be able to receive those signals. So now in the bedroom one, you said you also had rabbit ears on it?
Okay, and there's a little confusion there.
Okay.
We have no cable hookup in our bedroom.
Okay.
Okay, we got a color TV, and I bought it, I would say about 2.5, 3 years ago maybe. And it's always kind of bouncing back and forth between analog and digital.
So it actually has a digital tuner built into it, as far as you know.
It must. I didn't even realize that that was a possibility. So maybe I don't need the box for it.
You may not need it for that one, because if it is because there was a few sets that they did come out, which was actually a picture tube type set, but actually had the digital tuners in them. So what you might want to check is to check still signal strength for your UHF to see where you're at on that, because it may be that you may have to put a house antenna or get a bigger pair of rabbit ears, some that maybe are amplified to give you just a little better signal, so then it won't do the digitization or bouncing between channels. So basically then we have two different style boxes, and we have our black one here, which the feature it has on it has a separate volume control, so that you can use a separate volume control with the remote to turn your sound up and down. The one thing I always caution with people, if they get something like this, and especially if they're going to hook it onto a VCR to be able to record something, is that they need to make sure that the sound in the box is turned all the way up. Because if you don't turn that up, and even though you're hearing maybe something on your TV itself, you might not get the sound at all on your VCR. The one that we were that we'd like to suggest probably would be our black box, because that particular one has to where you can just basically hook your antenna in, back out to the TV, and then you go ahead and auto program it. Now on the white box, that has what is called a pass-through.
There's a reason you might want a converter box with analog pass-through. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Probably what I'd recommend is going with the little black box.
Okay. And it's a $40 credit. How much is one of these converter boxes going to cost?
The particular box that you were looking at, we sell for $60. And so once you take the $40 off, that's only going to cost you $20 in your tax.
Well, Jim, I'm usually a procrastinator about anything, ask my wife. But I'm kind of wondering, why am I doing this now? I'm being encouraged to set up that converter box now. Am I going to be able to use the TV between now and February? What's going to happen?
Yeah, you'll still be able to use your TV on regular analog that you get off your antenna, but once you put the digital on, you'll see a lot of the new programming that is right there now.
Jim told me about multicasting. Broadcasters are actually broadcasting multiple digital channels on the same channel right now. They'll show up on your screen as the main channel number followed by a 1, then a 2, and so on. The number of multicast channels can vary. You'll get the channels you're used to, plus additional programming streams or even 24-hour weather. Improved picture and sound quality, more programming, all for free over your antenna. I also learned that with digital reception, there's no such thing as a marginal signal. Things like ghosting and noisy pictures and sound you may have experienced with analog TV don't happen with digital. You either get a crisp picture and sound or no signal at all. So if you're seeing no signal on a channel you used to watch, you'll need to upgrade your antenna. It's going to start benefiting me right away when I get the box hooked up.
Yes.
Okay. Jim went on to show me how to hook up the converter box, which is as simple as unhooking the antenna cable from your TV, plugging that cable into the antenna port on the back of the box, then using the supplied cable to connect the box to the antenna port on your TV. He also showed me how to program the box, which is basically just a matter of following the prompts that appear on the screen when you first turn everything on. Directions come with the box, but Jim said I could call him if I had any trouble. I'm sure most retailers would do the same. Once you get it programmed, you'll discover multicasting. And then he showed me how I could access the electronic program guide using the converter box remote. You'll get information about what you're watching, upcoming programs, signal strength, and other stuff. Kinda cool. Well, Jim, I really appreciate that explanation. Anytime I can get something free from Uncle Sam, I'm going to go for it. So it sounds like, even though I ordered 2 coupons, I only need to use one of these cards.
Right.
And I'm going to get this basic number right here, and you can just sign me up and I'll go up front and pay for it with you.
Okay.
Before you buy your converter box, think about features.
Well, the box that we handle has it's of course remote control. They're all remote control, but this box will not only control the box, but it's programmable to run your TV. So you can turn your TV on and off, run your volume, and change your channels. There's new boxes coming out that will still pass the analog signal. Right now, most of the boxes are strictly digital. So then we have to hook them up different ways so that they can still use some of the analog channels. Because in this area, we're still going to have some analog TV. The low power stations can still run on low power, so we need both analog and digital.
Low power TV stations broadcast over a small area and aren't required to switch over to digital yet. If you don't know whether this applies to you, it's important to ask your local retailers or friends and family members in your area to find out. Besides north central Iowa, there are low power TV stations that broadcast in Marshalltown, Ottumwa, and other parts of the state. If you want to pick up a low-power TV station in your area over your antenna, you'll probably need a converter box that has analog pass-through. Finally, remember how I was surprised to find out that I already had a digital television? If you bought a TV in the last 3 years or so, it might have a digital tuner, and you won't need a converter box. Read your owner's manual. You're looking for terms like integrated digital tuner, digital receiver, digital tuner, DTV, ATSC, or HDTV. You could also check with the manufacturer's website to learn more.
This 47 on down is all LCD.
You should know by now that the DTV transition won't affect you if you watch TV exclusively using a cable or satellite service. You don't have to do a thing. And if you watch an old analog TV using an antenna, all you need is the converter box. That'll allow you to receive and watch the new digital signals, including those being broadcast in high definition. But you won't be able to experience true high definition. You need a high definition TV for that. And that brings us to another way to be ready for the DTV transition.
And we give the consumer that option of, hey, if you do want a box and utilize your existing antenna, no problem. Feel free to do so. And that may be important, such as in the bedroom or in the kitchen. But if you have a main TV that you generally watch all the time, you may want to upgrade to a high-definition TV.
Talk to people and tell them, here's my situation, and that's how I like to start things out. Here's where I live, here's what my size my room is, here's what I want, here's how much I can spend. And the people are knowledgeable for the most part in these stores, and they know, they do it all the time, they know what you're looking for, they know what's best, but don't limit yourself just to one place. Go to a couple different places, see if they're saying the same thing.
Well, first we ask them how big their room is. Some people just want a big TV. Even though their old one is just fine, they still want to upgrade to these new TVs. And of course, the new TVs have the box built into them. So for people with an antenna, there's nothing to worry about there.
I work in television, but I don't know much about the technology. I do know that the new high-definition pictures look great. Once you see them, it's hard not to be impressed. The family decided it was time to upgrade, so here I am, ready to buy a new TV. My question is, I need a set and I don't even know where to begin. And I have a cabinet that I want to make sure that my TV fits in. So we've measured and think maybe 32-inch is about what will fit, because I don't want to get all new furniture.
Right.
But I have all these questions. So do I want an HD set? Is there an SD set? What is projection screen? Flat screen, plasma? Can you help me out?
You bet. Number one, if you're looking for a 32, we'll just start there. Right now in the marketplace, 32, your choices are limited in that they would be strictly a flat panel, and it would be an LCD. For the most part, there are no plasmas in that size category in the United States yet.
Let's say I got new furniture and I wanted a plasma. So how could what's the difference?
Well, plasmas and LCDs are two different technologies. They accomplish the same thing as one car to another car does, but they just do it differently. So a plasma uses a mixture of gases that mix together to excite phosphor on the screen. The phosphor is what emits light. An LCD liquid crystal display, there's two sheets of glass with liquid cells between, and they're backlit by a series of fluorescent bulbs. So it's just the way the picture is presented on the screen.
So if I have the choice, if I've got a 42-inch plasma and a 42-inch LCD, can I tell the difference? Is there one that's better than the other?
One is not definitively better than the other. There are some plasmas better than some LCDs, and there are LCDs better than some plasmas. So we just have to be comparing apple to apple.
Okay.
Sometimes the differences in the picture, because there is inherent differences between plasma and LCD, and those differences sometimes are preferable to some people over one over the other.
Okay. Randy and I also talked about projection TVs. As the name implies, the picture is projected, either from the rear of the screen or from the front, like having your own little movie theater. Thanks to Randy, I was becoming an educated consumer. If you take the time to talk to friends and family and shop around a bit, you'll be able to make a better choice.
The first thing you want to look at is specs of the television. First is size, application, and price range. Size, you definitely want to look at double your screen size, and that should be your minimum viewing distance. So if you're looking at a 50-inch television set, you generally should be right around 100 inches away from the TV for minimum viewing.
We just looked at the picture on in the store, playing a movie or a DVD, whatever they were doing, and that's what we did, based our purchase on, was that had a really good picture, was good and clear. Obviously, these are all digital processes that their selling points are, so we knew it was going to fit in our spot in the corner, and we knew what color we wanted it to be, and so away we went with it.
I guess I was just taken back by, again, how clear it was, how much the picture was alive with color, and that I just wasn't expecting that kind of an experience.
Well, the big thing we tell people if they've got kids and they've got a new game, a TV game, you can't do that on the plasma. Or you can, but you've got to be careful. So the LCD is better that way. If they've got a lot of sunlight, the plasmas will have some reflection, whereas the LCDs, there's no reflection. The plasmas, when you go to the bigger TVs, are the cheaper way to go. I sell from 50 on down are all LCDs, and the 50s and 60s are plasma, because it's not cost effective to do it the other way. But that's the main thing, is the games, the reflection, and how big the room is, things like that they all have to consider.
Well, when you're shopping for a new TV, probably the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is what you're going to use it for. If you're going to have it hooked to cable, if you're going to have it hooked to satellite or antenna, if you're going to hook it to cable, which is still predominantly analog right now, then you have to look at the resolution and differences in how the TVs will cope with the analog signal. Plasma, for instance, does a little better job of coping with the analog signal. The edges of the picture are just a little smoother and a little less digitizing on the screen, on a plasma screen. LCD looks fine when it's hooked to a higher resolution input, such as a higher resolution satellite or the antennas now with the full resolution coming from them.
When I look at these sets and I see the different sizes, I see stickers on them that say HD.
Right.
I've heard about SD. Can you help me understand what that is? What do I see? What's the difference?
Well, today, any television that has a tuner in it by federal mandate has to have the high definition decoder built into it. So that allows a customer to receive a over-the-air broadcast of the new digital signal. So for the most part, everything is high definition. High definition television sets would not mean necessarily that everything you watch is in high definition. It depends on what's being broadcast by the cable company, by the satellite company, by the over-air networks.
So the TV itself doesn't make things HD?
No. HD is digital, but digital is not necessarily HD. So
is this some sort of word riddle?
Well, in a way.
This isn't as confusing as it sounds. As Randy explained, HD, or high definition, is still a digital signal. It's just much higher quality than a standard definition picture. Not all programming is in HD, but as time goes on, more and more will be in HD. Your new HD set will pick up both types just fine, and you'll be able to watch both SD and HD programming using a converter box hooked up to an analog TV too. But you need an HD set to see true HD in all its widescreen glory. So I'm looking at these and I see 1080p,
Right.
I've heard of 1080i. Are these things that I need to pay attention to, or is it?
Well, they can be. Those are all issues that would determine the full capabilities of the set. You have material today being broadcast in 480i. Like you said, 1080 and 720 are broadcast standards. Ideally, you would like to have a set that is 1080p. To have all the latest and greatest features is in an ideal world where you'd like to be at. Do you have to have that? No.
Okay.
You can get a really nice set that is rated at what they call 720 and still have a really nice set.
Okay, and still better than the set I have now at home.
Yes.
So now you've said the TV doesn't change the signal, right? It doesn't make something HD, but I want to be able to watch it, and I hear that channels are broadcasting in HD.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that because I just watch over the antenna. Do I need to get a new antenna? How do I work that with the antenna? The antenna talk you heard from Dan and Jim Williams in Iowa Falls also applies to your new digital TV.
This is our antenna, and I was quite surprised that just that little antenna would do such an excellent job of receiving all the stations that we receive. Originally, I thought that maybe we'd need to get a special antenna, but apparently you don't need a special antenna, just the one that you have will probably work great.
A lot of people come in here thinking they need to put up a new antenna that's HD compatible. Well, all the antennas that we've put up for 20 years, as long as it's a UHF, VHF, all-channel antenna, it's already compatible. You don't need to go out and, if the box says HD, that says that's gonna work for you. The antenna that you probably have on your house right now is gonna be fine.
There's really no such thing as a special HD or digital antenna. That said, you'll often hear people say that your existing antenna should work just fine. Emphasis on should.
It's definitely a case where you do need to talk to someone in your local area to find out what you're going to need for an antenna. Iowa Falls is a very different position geographically from Des Moines than, say, Ames. So the type of antenna you're going to need in Iowa Falls is a much bigger antenna with a lot higher gain than what you're going to need in Ames or down in Des Moines or in the suburbs of that area. Down there, it's perfectly fine to go buy a set of rabbit ears and hook them to your converter box. You'll be very pleased with the picture you'll get. Up here in Iowa Falls, rabbit ears are almost worthless. We very, very seldom find a time they work.
Randy was a big help, and I have to say that the TV shopping experience was not bad at all. After narrowing my choices to fit my needs, I just picked what looked best to me. I now have a high-definition set at home hooked up to a set of rabbit ears. The picture looks great, and I am learning new things about digital and HD television all the time. My husband was able to hook everything up, but it can get kinda complicated. Did you know your dealer can install your new digital TV for you? It's a good thing to ask about when you're shopping around because charges can vary a little bit. It's a good idea to find out now if your existing antenna gets the digital channels nice and strong in your area. So maybe before you buy a new TV, try the converter box on your existing television. That way, when and if you're ready to buy a new high-definition digital TV, like maybe during one of those great sales, you will be all set to get great reception. And that's about it. Some people get this stuff, some people don't. And you shouldn't feel at all bad if you don't. Just remember that there are people who do and who want to help you. The Iowa broadcasters in your area would be happy to hear from you. And don't forget about your local retailer, of course, or a friend or a family member. And if you're someone who likes learning about this sort of thing, the website we've been showing you throughout this program is a great place to start. But as always, the best way to learn is just by doing, and the sooner the better. I want to thank all the Iowans who helped us out with this program, including my friend Dan Karcher. We're going to close now with a word from Alfred Stenzel, proud owner of 2 new digital converter boxes. I'm Jennifer Converst. Thanks for watching.
At our age, we have to learn to accept change because that's something that's just a fact of life. Yes, I do think it was a change for the better. Yes, I do, very definitely.